Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Brooks Bonner. I am an admissions counselor here with the Organization for Tropical Studies. Welcome to the Trop Talk webinar series. This week's series is Tropical Biology on a Changing Planet in Costa Rica, the semester study abroad program that OTS offers twice a year in the fall and in the spring. I am talking to you today from our North American office in Durham, North Carolina, on campus at Duke University. But today we will be joined by lead faculty member for the tropical biology program is Mauricio Garcia. He is going to be talking to us today from Costa Rica. Excuse me. And today's talk is going to be pretty brief, but it's going to be a chance for Mauricio to go over the program, go over a little bit some of the specifics, where you'll be going, some of the activities you'll be doing, some of the common research topics maybe some of the students in the past have done, and kind of how the program is going to work in general. Now, at the end, each student will have the opportunity to ask questions to Mauricio. If there was something that was not covered during the short talk here, we encourage you to ask questions. Now, in order to do that, you will, I'll instruct you how to do that right at this time. So if you go to the lower right-hand corner of the Fuse software window that you should be viewing at this time, you'll see three dots. If you take your cursor over that, you'll see it's called the More menu. If you click on that, it'll bring up a drop-down box and it'll give you a bunch of different options. But when you get to the end and you do have a question, you're going to go ahead and select where it says raise your flag. Okay? Once I see that you have risen your flag, I will unmute you and you'll have the opportunity to ask your question to Mauricio. So hopefully that all makes sense. I will go over that again at the end. However, without further ado, I do want to encourage Mauricio. I believe he is there. To come online here, turn on your camera so we can see you. There he is. Okay, so we see you, we hear you. I will pass the microphone to you and go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everyone. I am Mauricio Garcia. As Bruce said, I am a professor from the tropical biology course. I am here in Costa Rica, and I just talking to Bruce that here is a little bit hot. It's like 30 degrees Celsius during the day, and go a little bit lower in night, but still not as cold as United States right now, North United States. Um, this is a tropical biology program in a training plan in Costa Rica, and one of the first things that a lot of people ask is why study in Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is really small. It's a small country. It's less than the size of West Virginia. And it covers like a 0.03% of the Earth's surface, but it has 4% of all the biodiversity. It's really, really diverse. Even if you compare it to another countries by number of species per kilometer, it's really diverse. And why it's so diverse is one of the things is like it's a different topography. Being a small country has a really different topography, but it is a land bridge between North America and South America. When they get together, Costa Rica was the last part that was formed, and the animals and plants from North America, animals and plants from South America meet here and make this place really diverse. And during the course, you will be able to see a lot of this biodiversity. And but most of the countries like Colombia or Central America that are really diverse. And what I make Costa Rica different is because Costa Rica has a lot of knowledge that's being sharing with in the country. And that started in the 18th century when the first naturalists arrived to Costa Rica and started to collect plants and animals. But it started to speed it up in the 60s and 70s when researchers from the United States started to come to Costa Rica to do research. And OTS has a really active role in that process because OTS started to give courses in that time in the 60s. And all these students that after come back here to develop their master thesis or the PhDs after they come back as a professor and bring students, and they generate more and more knowledge because they were doing research. And that knowledge allows it to share with a lot of people and justify why to protect these places. Again, Costa Rica is a small country, but with a really different topography. We have a low light zones, and you can go from the highest point in Costa Rica, like the Cerro La Muerte, that's around 3,000 meters in elevation, to wet forest, a tropical wet forest in less than 2 hours, or a tropical dry forest in less than 3 hours. So everything is really close, and so you can move really easy in the country. But again, all of this is not possible without the influence of Costa Rica politics, because Costa Rica doesn't have an army. And since 1948, the last civil war that was in Costa Rica, the group that wins the war decided to abolish the army. And that allowed us to invest all the money that normally will go to the army, to invest it in education, to invest it in the social security system, and in conservation. So that's the reason Costa Rica protects 25% of the territory, of the whole territory. Now, during the course, we will try to visit a bunch of different places. Some of them are managed by OTS, and we were trying to. You see the map right now. You can see that we tried to cover everywhere in Costa Rica, so all the different ecosystems. And we started Las Cruces. That's the really south part of Costa Rica, close to Panama, and the place started as a garden, and it has a lot of plants that were planted there, and it's a really interesting place to start because everything is really close, and we start in that place with talking about plants and insects. So it's really easy for us to start, and people think that these areas are really simple, but in the tropic they are really complicated, in the sense like are really diverse. It's around by 300 hectares of forest. So for sure, we will do a bunch of activities in the garden, but most of the stuff that will be in the forest. And it's surrounded by a matrix of coffee plantations and pasture lands. And that's the reason it's a really good place to talk about deforestation, to talk about fragmentation, to talk about restoration ecology, and for sure, the history of Costa Rica and how the different steps that Costa Rica will be taking that influence the conservation in the area and in the country. We will go and talk to visit a coffee farm, and we'll talk to coffee farmer, and that's something that we try to do during the course, is try to take you as a student in to talk to different farmers to see their point of view about the situation that they are living, or the situation that was happening in the past and how they change. After that, we'll go to Curicí. Curicí is the highlands. And again, you think in the tropics about being hot and humid, but Curicí is in the highlands and is cold compared to the rest of the country. Temperatures can go 0 degrees Celsius, and sometimes the students wake up in the morning at the station and they can be froze over the plants. And it's really interesting because all these plants and animals are being adapted to survive in those ecosystems. And we'll talk about all the different adaptations. This is a private reserve, and the owner of the reserve has a trout farm and a dairy farm. So again, we'll talk about him and how he sees conservation being a private owner. After that, we'll go up to Palo Verde, that's an OTS station. Palo Verde is a tropical dry forest. Palo Verde is it are trying to protect the marsh. OTS has an agreement with the park to develop activities inside the park. We have a station there. Um, because it's a dry forest. The reason it's a dry forest is because 6 months of the year don't have any rain. So the plants and animals have to develop all these different adaptations to survive for 6 months almost without water. This is interesting to talk about all the different adaptations. After that, you will go to homestay, and that is to go back to San Jose and live with Costa Rican families and learn about the Costa Rican culture more in depth and learn about Spanish. You will receive classes during the day, and during the night, you will practice everything that you learned with your homestay family. After that, we'll go to Monteverde. Monteverde is a private reserve. It's the biggest private reserve in Costa Rica and Central America. It's a remote place. We will be right there in the middle of the forest, and it's really interesting place because in and our herpetologist that was working there, he started to see how frogs were declining in the end of the 80s, and he started to publish papers about all the frog decline. So we will talk in the area a lot about frog decline because that's where all these papers start. And it's really sad that all were declining, but at the same time, it's really interesting to see all the phenomena and how there was impact. We'll talk a bunch of different things like gaps and gaps dynamics and other topics. But frog decline will be the main topic. After that, we'll go to Boca del Toro in Panama. This is a marine site. And again, for the effect of global warming, a lot of the coral reefs are being degrading. And we will talk about restoration ecology of coral reefs. And we'll talk about how important are the coral reefs in, in, the, in the oceans and in the tropics in general. After that, we'll go to La Selva. La Selva is a OTS station. It's a tropical wet forest, and it's a really exuberant place. And you can see a lot of animals and a lot of wildlife in there. It's really really interesting to see all this. And La Selva is the property is like a 1,600 hectares, but it's connected to the Praulica Regional National Park, and it's around by banana plantations. So we'll talk about how this the development of the bananas in Costa Rica and the history of Costa Rica were affect the conservation of the area and the economy. The course in general, those are all the sites that we visit. The course in general, they are four different courses. Fundamentals of tropical biology, where we try to talk about all the different theories of marine ecology and all the different plant-animal interactions and all these topics. And we'll cover environmental science and politics in the tropics. And we need the fundamental of tropical biology, all the ecology theory, to talk about um, conservation and fragmentation and uh, and, um, and all the different topics in environmental science. And we will cover to the field research, and we'll need the two courses before to do the field research. Um, and the part that is cultural language in Costa Rica, that is in San Jose, and that is teach by the school in San Jose. The whole course is based in the field, and that we try to cover every single topic with some field component. So we talk about fragmentation, we'll go to the field and see the fragments and see all the different things that they were talking. One of the biggest things that we focus is in projects and the research. And the research, they have three different components of the research. One is the faculty-led projects. That's just where we invite people from outside the program, and they can be from United States, they can be from Costa Rica, and they develop, try to answer a question. The ecological question that they can answer and calculate collecting data. So all the students help to collect the data and try to answer the questions. And really the idea for this is that you receive different ideas from people from outside, not only from the professor in the program. Long-term projects is project that we try to develop that collecting data and a low intensity, but with the idea that we have is in the long term, we will have a really good set of data that we can answer some ecological questions. Independent and the independent research. Independent research is just the students doing the research, and we call independent just because you have to come up with a question, and the professors will help you to develop the question and see how possible is the question. You have to write a paper, and the paper is independent, and after that you have to submit it, and we make corrections, and we give it the paper back. Um, as a part of this, we have to we presented you presented as a symposium, and you have to make a poster, and the poster is in Spanish, and that's for the community. And we try to give back some of the information that we collect back to the community. This is a totally different course, and is based in the field, and it's totally different because you receive classes, but in the normal in the afternoons, and in the mornings we go to the field to do real all these activities. Is One of the highest points of the course is the faculty is 24/7 with the students, so you can take advantage of that, and you can just ask a little questions because we're always there to answer the questions, and we're really open to share all these or everything that you're interested, share about Costa Rica, share about biology, share about conservation, anything that we were really open to share. The course will give you a different perspective about the world, about yourself, and what is around you, and the conservation in the tropics. Thank you very much. And I know you have some questions.
Yes, great. Thank you, Mauricio. Um, we will open it up to questions now. Um, Again, if you do have questions, you're going to go to the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, click on the More menu, and select Raise Your Flag, and I can unmute you. Um, in the meantime, Mauricio, I guess I'll ask a question that I guess is more of a personal question for you, an opinion about the program. And what would you say is your favorite part of the program? I know you've been doing the program for a few years now, so what would you say is your favorite part?
I It's hard to say what is the favorite part because there are a bunch of different components of the course that I really like. And one of the things is to visit the sites because even though I've been going to the sites almost every semester, um, they are different. Every time that they are different, they are something different. Um, I don't know, this semester we saw a really weird bird in Palo Verde that we know that's there, but we don't normally see it. And so it was really cool to see something that's not that common. And for me, that was the first time that I see it. And and another thing is to run the program is like to see everything through the students' eyes, and everybody has a different perspective or things. And some students don't like some specific things, and they have the particular reasons. And I never see in that perspective when the students say like, no, I don't like it for this and this and this. I was like, I didn't think it that way, but yeah, it makes sense. So that is really really cool because it's an interactive learning, because the students are learning from my experience, but I'm learning for them too. So I really like that. And it's no every single group is different, and that's a really cool thing too, because I don't know, I never get tired of the course because I see different things in every single site, and I see um, different students, and the students make things very different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. Obviously, it's like a new program every semester. You know, it's a new environment, a
Yeah,
new dynamic with the different students.
yeah,
Um, okay, it looks like no one wants to step out and ask a question. I guess I'll follow up with another question. I guess if no one else wants to, what would you say in terms of your experience for students? What would you say is the most challenging aspect of the program?
it's I think for the students is to be in a really different conditions, because it's challenging to be with the same group of students every single day. Normally, in a normal campus, you can go to your room and no problem, you isolated from the rest of the people. And here, it's a little bit different because you are with the same group of students all the time. And and it's great if you get along with all of them, and that's wonderful. But you know, sometimes you are not in the great mood, and that's a little bit tricky. And I think that's one of the challenge. In top of that, we move around for different in different conditions. So like, can be we're in Quirici, that's really cold and wonderful, but the next week we're gonna be in Palo Verde, that's hot and humid, or hot and dry. And the next time we're going to be in La Selva, that's hot and humid. So you have to adapt in really short period of time to all the different conditions. And for some students, it's a little bit challenging to do that. Um, but on the other hand, it's great to see all the different environmental different sites, and to learn about the opinions of every different people. And I think for the students, they learn a lot about themselves because being in that close conditions, you learn to respect the different opinions, and you learn to listen to different opinions, and you learn to express your opinion about things without being respectful about what you say, and that's a really interesting dynamics.
Right, right. Yeah, I can imagine that being with a with the same tight group of students for 15 weeks at times can be a stressful environment. You know, I think that's why we always kind of stress here that this isn't a traditional study abroad experience.
Yeah,
It's not like going to Paris or studying culture and business and things of that nature. It's a field-based program, as it says there on the slide. And when we say that, we really mean it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like anyone else wants to ask a question. That's okay. It just means you presented all the material clearly and effectively. So thank you, Mauricio.
Yeah.
Um, Appreciate the information. And if anyone does have any questions, they can write to undergraduate at tropicalstudies.org. We'd be happy to answer any questions. Just as a reminder, the application deadline for this program and all of our other fall semester programs is coming up quickly. It's going to be April 1st. So make sure you submit all your application materials by that date to make sure that there is room in the program. So thank you again, Mauricio.
You're welcome, Bruce.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Everyone, have a good night. Bye bye.
Bye.